Okay, welcome back. Sorry about that. My internet crashed. I am going to continue with building the sword, the tutorial sword here. This is not going to be the final product, but this is very much helping me to learn how to actually do this. Oh, no, I don't want another blender. I don't need another blender. My life is already complicated enough with this one blender. Okay, so let me bring up that tutorial again, put that back over there. Okay, so I'm going to continue right where I left off, where the internet crashed. And let's go. So right now, oh, quick note. If you're just joining the series, there is an NFT out there called The Forgotten Kings, and it is a compilation of swords in very awesome backgrounds. And I am just 3D modeling that NFT, and I might make it into like a diorama type thing that could be injected into a virtual world or a metaverse as like an actual thing that you could walk around in. So that's my ultimate goal. And right now I'm kind of learning Blender while also learning how to make a sword specifically. So that is my end goal. Let's continue. So I just created these loop cuts here, and let's go.
Tool by hitting this. And we're going to select these verts right here and go and scale these in.
Okay,
like
hang on.
The keyframes.
I need to go into wireframe. He said select these. No, stop that. Undo. Grab these verts here and scale on the X. There we go. Okay.
We selected to zoom in here a little bit more. Scale those in, nice and tight. And then what we want to do is select the center one right here. It's going to scale those back so that these are going to be flush right there. And now we'll go ahead and just work on the top of here. So I'm going to select all the way up here. Q frame selected. And then we got some polygons up here.
Wait. He selected the outer ones after doing the inners?
Scale those in, nice and tight. And then what we want to do is select the center one right here. It's going to scale those back.
Yeah. So he wants just these two here. Scale on the X to come in. Okay. And then what? No, wrong. Grab just these two.
Back. So that these are going to be flush right there.
Yes. Okay. Perfect. Got it. Scale them in on the Y. Hey. All right. Stop. Something's going wrong. All right. So I want to scale you and you on the Y. Nice and flush. Yep. Okay. Looking good. Wait. Oh, I was going to panic. I'm like, why is my blade flat? But no, I'm just clipping inside of the model here. Okay. Looking good.
And now we'll go ahead and just work on the top of here. So I'm going to select all the way up here. Q frame selected. And then we got some polygons up here that are sitting.
All right. So select at the top. Q frame selected. Perfect.
Faces. So we'll go to 3 to select those faces. Select each one of these. So I'll select each one by hitting Shift left click and then X and then delete faces just to get rid of those at the top.
Okay. So faces. We want yes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Delete faces.
Go to my vert mode. Select those right there and then bring those in somewhere right.
Vert. Oh, vert is 1. Select all of these and scale them in. Yeah. Okay.
In there, we want the base to be pretty bulky, somewhere right in there. And then I'll go ahead and select these right here in the middle.
Base bulky. We want bulky.
I'm going to scale that in like that, somewhere right in there. Now if I go to my solid mode, now we can actually check out and see how this is looking overall. And that's looking pretty good. So now we need to add in those details that live up here at the top. Go back into edit mode, and what we're going to do is add in 2 more loop cuts. So loop cut, click and drag all the way up.
Oh.
Do one right there. That's going to be the base of that little groove detail right there.
Hang on. I want to scale on the Y. Bring that in just like that. Did he want?
See how this is looking overall. Select those right there, and then bring those in somewhere right in there. We want the
Nice
base to
and
be pretty
bulky.
bulky, somewhere right in there. And then I'll go ahead and select these right here in the middle. I'm going to scale that in like that, somewhere.
Okay,
right
so he scales that in way far. Okay, so very much like what I did. Scale on the Y. But I kind of want these a little bit tighter on the X. So let's bring them in a bit more. Okay. Looking
Now
good.
if I go to my solid mode, now we can actually check out and see how this is looking overall. And that's looking pretty good. So now we need to add in those details that live up here at the top. Go back into edit mode, and what we're going to do is add in 2 more loop cuts. So loop cut,
Yeah.
click and drag all the way up. Do one right there. That's going to be the base of that little groove detail right there. And then do another one. It's going to be right
Okay, hang on. What did he just say?
looking pretty good.
It is
So now we
looking
need to add
good.
in those details that live up here at the top. Go back into edit mode, and what we're going to do is add in 2 more loop cuts. So loop cut, click and drag all the way up.
Okay.
Do one right there.
so,
That's going to be the base of that little groove detail right there. And then do another one. It's going to be right in here.
All right, hang on. Loop cut here up to the base. Yep. And then another one, he said, right up to about there.
I'm going to go back into my scale mode, hit 1, to go to my verts, select these at the top, keyframe selected, get in there. And what we want to do is just go back into wire.
All right, verts. No, stop with the wire cuts. All right, you look at. Okay, what are we doing?
Frame mode, and go ahead and select these, and go ahead and scale these in like this. So the groove detail is essentially going to be
Wireframe.
welded out down there. It's going to start small and then get big. And after we scale that in, we're going to
Okay.
select the center
Oh,
ones right
okay,
here. So
okay.
keyframe selected to get in there. A
I see. So select. What?
little bit closer to get in there. And what we want to do is just go back into wireframe mode, and go ahead and select these, and go ahead and scale these in like this. So the groove detail is essentially going to be welded out.
Okay.
Down.
So select all of those. Scale on the X. Very tiny. Okay.
There. It's going to start small and then get big. And after we scale that in, we're going to just select the center ones right here. So keyframe selected to get in there a little bit closer, and then select those, and then go ahead and move that up like this. So we want this to be flush as well. So I'm going to go back into my solid mode after we
Oh,
have this
okay.
selected, and we want it to be somewhere right in here where you can see at the top right there. We want that to be a perfect triangle like that. And then go back into my wireframe mode, select these 2 right in the center, and do the same thing. Just get that as close as possible that we can to making that a triangle. Somewhere in there. Go ahead and look at this in object mode, see how that's looking. It's looking pretty good. So now last steps are just going to be to add a bevel modifier. That's just going to make sure that the sword's going to hold its shape. We'll go ahead and add a modifier, add subdivision surface.
All right,
as well.
hang on. Scale on the Y. I want to push those in till it's flat. That's really cool. Okay. I'm liking how this is coming together. Oh,
Go into object mode to see what it's looking like. We'll just right click, shape smooth.
okay. Object mode. I want out of wireframe. That's looking so cool. All right, hang on. He said a few more
Get this in object mode, see how that's looking.
cuts.
So you can see at the top
Hang
right there. We
Yep.
want that to be a perfect
Nice and
triangle.
flush.
And then go back into my wireframe mode, select these 2 right in the center, and do the same thing.
Yep.
Just get that as close as possible that we can to making that
Yep.
triangle. Somewhere in there. I'll go ahead and look at this in object mode, see how that's looking. It's looking pretty good. So now last steps are just going to be to add a bevel modifier. That's just going to make sure that the sword's going to hold its shape. We'll go ahead and add a modifier, add subdivision surface as well.
Modifier,
Go into object
bevel,
mode to see what it's looking like. We'll just right click, shape smooth on that.
subdivision.
And that's looking pretty good overall. So from here you can see, okay, our edges over here are looking
All
a
right,
little soft.
hang on. He's got 0.1, 1, 1, and 2.
So if we want to sharpen up any of the edges, all we have to do is go back into edit mode over here. I'm going to go ahead and collapse my bevel, my subdivision. I'm going to turn both of those off in edit mode, and we'll go ahead and just add in.
Okay, what is that? Is that the edit mode? Yeah, edit mode. Edit mode. So when I enter edit mode here, it won't have that. Okay, so hang on. What was he just saying about sharpening it up?
And that's looking pretty good overall. So from here you can see, okay,
Yep.
our edges over here are looking a little soft. So if we want to sharpen up any of the edges,
Okay. Edit mode. I think it looks... No, my edges are nice and sharp. Well, kind of. Okay, I can see what he's talking about.
all we have to do is go back into edit mode over here. I'm going to go ahead and collapse my bevel, my subdivision. I'm going to turn both of those off in edit mode, and we'll go ahead and just add in a loop cut down here. So we can add a loop cut on the edge right there, edge right here, just to make those sharper. And we're going to do one for the groove as well, one right there. And
Okay.
then
So he has edit mode off, but I'm kind of liking the way it looks. I don't think it looks unsharp. It looks ridiculously sharp, actually. I like the way that looks. Maybe some here. No, I think I'm even happy with the way the groove on that is. I'm really happy with that.
Then I'll go back into scale mode, go into object mode, check that out. And that's looking pretty good. And the last thing that we want to do
Yeah.
before we wrap this up, if you're having this little issue down here where your tip looks a little black, all we need to do is jump into edit mode again and then just add another loop cut down here. And I'll just tighten that up and so it's a little bit sharper. So subdivision modifier holds its form a little bit better. Great, and we'll start working on the textures and shaders next.
Okay, hang on. I need to center the camera down there so that I can rotate around. No, actually, yeah, a lot of the issues he just pointed out, I'm not seeing that. That's coming in quite nice. I'm liking that. Maybe I would want the groove to be a little bit bigger. Okay, so if that were the case, so let's focus the camera in right there. I want the groove to be a bit wider, so let's go into the wireframe so that I can select you and you, and oh dang, what did I do? I also want to come up here and grab these so that I can make the groove wider. So there, and I want to scale out on the x-axis and make that groove bigger. Now check it out in object mode. Okay, so let's focus. No, wrong key. Focus on that. Okay. Maybe that's more of a shader issue. What do we got going on here? Some kind of a weird texturing issue going on there. I don't understand why that would be there though. Maybe just a wrong point. But yeah, I'm just gonna have to be happy with that. I can't nitpick this too much. I can, but I'm kind of liking it already. But there is something weird going on here. I've got some weird... See how it's like doubled up? Oh, yeah. What's going on there? What happened? Oh, you know what? I'll bet you it's when I scaled it. Yeah. Something happened there. Hang on, let's do... Okay, see, I'm okay with that. No, it still has issues. Something happened when I scaled it and it like doubled it up. It really messed those up. So I need to go and undo that. Okay. Yes. Okay. So now I come into a solid mode and exit out of that. No, see the issue's still there. What's the deal? Why do I have these? They don't show there though. Why don't they show in the wire in the edit mode, but they do in the object mode? I'm not sure what's making that happen. All right, well, I'm just going to continue on.
Here's where we're going to take our model. We're going to turn it into our texture and shaded version of this asset. And as we move forward, the first thing that we're going to do is talk about UVs and apply UVs to our model. This Twitter process is a great visual representation of how UVs work.
Hang on, what were you saying? Missed you.
So here's where we're going to take our model. We're going to turn it into our texture and shaded version of this asset. And as we move forward, the first thing that we're going to need to do is talk about UVs and apply UVs to our model. This Twitter process is a great visual representation of how UVs work and why we need them. So we have our chocolate over here that's represented in our 3D mesh, and then we have the unwrapped version of that, which is going to be represented as our texture. And the UVs is basically a flattened version of that 3D object. You think of your 3D object as your mesh, and then your UVs are going to be a 2D version of your object. And they're basically the in-between stage before you can apply a texture to your material. So you think of your mesh as your 3D object, and then your UVs as your 2D version of the object. And that's what gives us the ability to have this 3D object communicate with the 2D texture. This could be a JPEG, Target, whatever it may be, and apply it to our 3D mesh. Yep. So this is what broken UVs look like. And this is what we're going to find with our model as well. Whenever we have a discrete UV, we get this kind of stuff where we get this weird stretching happening whenever we apply the texture and all of that. So let's go ahead and take a look at that now. So before we jump into Blender, we got this UV checker. So this is going to be located in the downloads below. We're going to be using this to apply as our test texture for our object. So start, we're just going to set up a basic material. We're going to select our blade right here, and then go down to our material tab and just set this up. If you don't see material here, all you have to do is just, I'm going to go ahead and click X, and then I'm just going to click new to start with the fresh material. If you already see material there, you can just stick with that one. I'm going to go ahead and go to base color and assign a texture. This is the same exact thing that we did with our Minecraft scene. So I'm going to go to image texture, and then I'm going to navigate to my, after our open button right here, I'm going to navigate to our texture, and then just apply UVcheckers.jpg to that little downloads below. So whenever we apply, we don't see
let me double check on that. The last time he needed that UV checker was that one right there. Yeah, except he wants you to sign up, which I'm not going to do, so I will just do something different.
Yet, right? Because we're currently in solid mode. We talked a bit about this before. If we switch to rendered mode, we can now start to see this texture applied. But the problem with this is that we don't actually want to do a render calculation because it is pretty heavy. So what we're going to do is we're going to stay in solid mode. And we're going to choose these options down here. So if we come in here, when we did our render tab up here, we played with this before where we turned on our scene world and HDRIs and all that. This dialog box changes for each mode we're on here. So I'm going to click here on solid mode and then go up here to these options, and it'll control. These are basically our viewport display options right here. So long story short, there's a lot of really good stuff in here. What we want to do now is just click this little texture icon right here, and I'll just make sure that we can see that in the viewport. So you can see now, okay, this is, you don't see material here. All you have to do is just, I'm going to go ahead and click X, and then I'm just going to click to start with the fresh material. If you already see material there, you can just stick with that one. I'm going to go ahead and go to base color and assign a texture. This is the same exact thing that we did with our Minecraft scene. So I'm going to go to image texture, and then I'm going to navigate to my...
but the problem is, why don't I see that here? Let me do remove. Let me just do a different color. Why don't I see that? Oh, because okay. He switched into render mode.
After our open button right here, I'm going to navigate to our texture and then just apply UV-checkers.jpg to that. That'll be in the downloads below. So whenever we apply, we don't see anything yet, right? Because
Okay.
we're currently in solid mode. We talked about it before.
Yeah. See, this is what I was talking about a little while ago. I'm beginning to know enough that I'm skipping ahead of him. Like I was applying that while I was in solid mode. I'm like, why am I not seeing anything? Oh, because you need to be in render mode. And I thought that he had already done that, but no, now he's explaining render mode. Okay, so now I can go brick as just a way to, maybe we've got a better one. I don't have an image to use. I don't want to use an image, so checker. Oh, okay. There, see, that looks like a good UV checker thingy.
This before we switch to render mode, we can now start to see this texture.
There
apply.
we go.
But the problem with this is that we don't actually want to do a render calculation because it is pretty heavy. So what we're going to do is we're going to stay in solid mode. We're going to choose these options down here. So if we come in here, when we did our render tab up here, we played with this before where we turn on our scene world and HDRIs and all that. This dialog box changes for each mode we're on here. So I'm going to click here on solid mode and then go up here to these options and it'll control. These are basically our viewport display options right here. So long story short, there's a lot of really good stuff in here. What we want to do now is just click this little texture icon right here, and I'll just make sure that we can see that in the viewport. So you can see now, okay, this is clearly broken. The checker don't look like they're supposed to, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to material here, and I'm just going to go ahead and rename this to be checkers. So our material is going to be called checkers. And then what we'll do now is just assign this
Okay,
to
so yeah, I want to rename that to checkers 2. And checkers also, just because, yeah, then I can remember what that was. So,
the rest of the objects. I'm going to select my guard, hit material, click checkers, select this. I'm going to go in queue, frame selected.
okay. So he's wanting same thing, materials, what? Oh, checkers. And then handguard, checkers. Is he wanting everything? Checkers?
Zoom here and then select our checkers material for that and then continue that all the way up.
Yeah, okay.
And there we go. And now you can see, okay,
Checkers.
now we got a wide range of results, right? This one's super stretched. That one's super stretched. This one's kind of looks okay. This one looks a little better. We have a lot of random stuff happening here, right? So why are
But wait, I missed something. How did he get the checker pattern to show on the
do a render calculation because it is pretty heavy. So what we're going to do is we're
on
going
the
to stay in
solid
solid mode. We're
mode?
going to choose these options down here. So if we
Material.
come in here, when we did our render tab up here, we played with this before where we turn on our scene world and HDRIs and all that.
Yes.
This dialog box changes for each mode we're on here. So I'm going to click here on solid mode and then go up here to these options and it'll control. These are basically our viewport display options right here. So long story short, there's a lot of really good stuff in here. What we want to do now is just click this little texture icon right here.
Gotcha. That's what I missed. View texture. Okay. Except nothing happened.
And I'll just make sure that we can see that in the viewport. So you can see now, okay, this is clearly broken. The checker don't look like they're supposed to, right? When I go to material here, I'm just going to go ahead and rename this to be checkers. So our material is going to be called checkers. Then what we do now
Why
is
am I not
assign this to the
seeing
rest of
that
the options.
now?
Guard.
So if I come here to render, okay. So scene, light, scene, world. Over here, if I go to texture, viewport, no, theme. What did he do
Material.
there?
And I'll just make sure that we can see that in the viewport. Box changes for each mode we're on here. So I'm going to click here on solid mode and then go up here to these options and it'll control. These are basically our viewport display options right here.
Yeah.
So long story short, there's a lot of really good stuff in here. What we want to do now is just click this little texture icon right here. And I'll just make sure that we can see that in the viewport. So you can
Oh, texture. Wait. Is it because mine's not an image that is not showing? Object. I do see a change there, but oh wait, random. Okay, well that might come in handy. But why am I not seeing my checker pattern that I would here? Maybe I can work with that because my computer seems to be pretty good at it, and he said it was kind of heavy, so we'll see.
You see now, okay, this is clearly broken. The checker don't look like they're supposed to, right? When I go to material here, I'm just going to go ahead and rename this.
Okay, so it kind of looks okay, but let's continue.
To be checkers. So our material is going to be called checkers. And then what we do now is just assign this to the rest of the objects. I'm going to select my guard.
Yes.
Hit material, click checkers. Select this. I'm going to go ahead and queue, frame selected. Zoom here and then select our checkers material for that and then continue that all the way up.
Well, it is kind of messed up
And
a little
there we go.
bit.
And now you can see, okay, now we got a wide range of results. Right?
Yeah.
This one's super stretched. That one's super stretched. This one's kind of looks okay. This one looks a little
Yes.
better. We have a lot of random stuff happening here, right? So why are some of these looking okay and why are not? Well, this was just a cylinder that we started with. And if we apply or if we just add in some primitive shapes, so I'm going to go to add up here and mesh. Let's go to cube. And then I'll go ahead and move this over. And then I'll go ahead and add mesh and then go to cylinder. So I'm going to also assign our checkers material to this, that one, and then this one. So primitive shapes in Blender, whenever we go to add mesh creates, they're going to come with some sort of UVs. And usually the problem isn't there until we start modifying these, right? So you see our hand right here, we didn't do that much modifications, so it doesn't look too bad. Our guard, though, we did a lot of modifications, so it looks pretty bad. Same thing with our blade.
That makes
and our whole
sense.
mouth here, too. We got all the stretching and stuff happening there. So this is what we want to do for the next
Except
couple
mine
chapters.
doesn't
We're
look
gonna
too
just get this checkerboard
bad.
texture to look correct before we can then move on to our textures and shaders. And we're going to start working on that next. For me, the toughest part about learning 3D modeling when I first started was following along with the video. It was very easy to miss this button, very
Okay.
easy to miss that button. Before you
So
know,
it's
you have to
looking
stop, rewind,
okay,
and struggle to find just the next step to the
but
process.
let's
This is a brutally exhausting
see
process, which is
how
why we at
he
cvfastro.com
works
built a step-by-step screenshot application, and we
Definitely
every
the blade
single one of our
needs some
courses.
work.
This would have saved me so much time and frustration. It makes it so much easier and enjoyable to learn 3D animation. After you're done watching the video here on YouTube, click the link in the description and follow along there. So our goal right now is to begin working on our sword UVs and to get our checkerboard shader to look like this. So everything's going to be
Yeah.
nice and square and the numbers are all right. So to get started with our UVs, I'm going to select my handle right here. And what I'm going to do is go over to my
Okay.
UV editing tab right up here. And basically what we're going to find in here is that we
UV
get access
editing.
to
Okay.
this UV view. And this is, any one of these tabs up here, these are basically just customized versions of the interface. So we can technically do all of these tasks in layout view, but some of these specifically UV editing and shading that we're going to get into are really nice presets that I use a lot. So I find myself using this UV editing tab a lot. So first off, whenever we jump over, we notice one thing. We're currently in edit mode, right? So it is automatically putting us
Are we?
in edit mode just by switching over here.
I'm
So
not in
whatever we
edit
have
mode.
selected, we're going to be
Oh,
automatically
yeah, I
editing,
guess
right?
we are now.
So what do our UVs look like here? If we go to select, we'll just do select all, or you can A on the keyboard. We will now see over here that we have our UVs, and they're a little bit hard to see.
Oh,
Basically,
wait, I missed that.
so wherever we
Stop
have selected,
fiddling
we're
around.
going to be automatically editing, right? So what do our UVs look like here? If we go to select, we'll just do select all, or you can A on the keyboard. We will now see over here.
Okay, so A. But nothing happens over here like it's supposed to.
That we have our UVs, and they're a little bit hard to see. Basically, I'll give you guys
Well, see, he's got this custom color map, which I don't have that, but you would think that the checker pattern would go through, that you'd be able to see that. Why would it be just a regular image and not that? Why won't it see that?
a tour we have selected. We're going to be automatically editing, right? So what do our UVs look like here? If we go to select, we'll just do select all, or you can A on the keyboard. We will now see over here that we have our UVs, and they're a little bit hard to see. Basically, I'll give you guys a tour of what we're looking at. It's going to be a little bit easier though if we go ahead and just clear out this texture. So by default, it's just going to display whatever texture we have on the viewport. View. And this is, any one of these tabs up here, these are basically just customized versions of the interface. So we can technically do all of these tasks in layout view, but some of these specifically UV editing and shading that we're going into are really nice presets that I use a lot. So I find myself using this UV editing tab a lot. So first off, whenever we jump over, we notice one thing. We're currently in edit mode, right? So it is automatically putting us in edit mode just by switching over here. So whatever we have selected, we're going to be automatically editing, right? So what do our UVs look like here? If we go to select, we'll just do select all, or you can A on the keyboard. We will now see over here that we have our UVs, and they're a little bit hard to see. Basically,
No. So this is where the real learning comes in. Okay, when I do what he says, A, select all, why does it not populate over here? Why does it on his and not on mine? I do not know. UV map, I don't know. UV opacity, but he didn't mess with any of that. Shouldn't have to mess with any of that. I'm at a loss. I'm not. Maybe it's because I'm in. No. Texture. Okay.
I'll give you guys a tour of what we're looking at. It's going to be a little bit easier though if we go ahead and just clear out this texture. So by default, it's just going to display whatever texture we have on the viewport. I'm going to go ahead and just exit out of this so we can start from scratch. There we go. So now we can see, okay, whatever we had selected here is now going to display over here. If I deselect over here, we see nothing. If I do select all, we see, okay, there's our UV. So this is the 3D version of the object. This is the 2D version of the object. So very much.
Okay. But I don't even see the dots that I have selected over here. So what's going on? Why does his show it and mine doesn't? Set a new... Alright, let me see if I can lay out. Okay. UV editing. Ah! Why did it show now? Okay, that's kind of strange. A. Why didn't it show before? See, now when I switch back and forth, it updates. But why wouldn't it do that before? And he says you deselect and it drops it, but apparently not. So, okay, let's not keep messing with that. Let's go A, layout UV just to reset everything. Now we can
Much like
keep
modeling,
going.
when we model around and do our extrusions, our bevels and all that, we have to do similar operations, but they're going to be in our UV view, both combination of 3D view and UV view. So if I go, just hit tab, just get back in object mode, you'll see, okay, now they disappear. If I go into edit mode, there they are. Same thing if I go down here in my guard. I hit select my guard, go to tab, and then A to select all, we see, okay, now we have our 2D version of that. And same thing
Okay,
with
except it
tab,
doesn't do that.
A to select all, we'll see, okay, whatever we have selected here is going to display over here. And this is essentially why things look broken. I'm going to go ahead and turn on my display for our textures in this view as well. So why are we doing this twice? Whoops, I'm just going to hit texture there. Why are we doing this twice? All these viewport settings right here are going to be different in every single tab that we're in. So this is its own display, its own interface, and so is this as well. So whatever we do, we want to have this texture on over here as well, so we can see that. So a quick tour of how we're going to actually be editing this. We're not going to be using this menu right here like we were last time. We're also not going to be using a lot of these menus up here. What we are going to be using is the UV tab right here. And if you can't see this, you know, things can get a little bit tight over here. I'm using middle mouse button. You can see me right here. Middle mouse button to scroll through here like this. So the menus that we're going to be spending a lot of time are going to be this UV menu right here, and then this UV menu over here. Over here, this view select, these are going to be similar menus of what we have been working with, so we'll be getting into these two a little bit. It's probably going to be UV view or UV menu right here and UV menu right here. And then of course, you know, we have our display tools right here, same thing right there. So move, rotation, scale, all those things are going to be very similar in both of these. So if I were to do something like this, where if I, you know, I'm editing my sword, for example, if I come in here and then I come over here and I just go to my selection tool up here and just click and drag and select, and I can just go to my move tool right here, you can see, okay, I can move around these UVs, and as I move them, you can see the texture is going to be moving as well, because we were moving the UVs around, therefore the texture is going to move as well, right? So that was a broad look at UVs, and then next up we're actually going to start.
Okay, so what he just explained there is you're basically, this is a two-dimensional, okay, so in this pane over here on the left, you are warping the image map so that it matches the 3D warping. It's like a wrap in your car. By adjusting the image here, it adjusts how it sits on the 3D. So this square is a flattened representation of your 3D model, and you have to warp the image in this to match the curves. Makes sense? Now we just need to make that happen.
We're fixing some of these UVs, starting with our handle. So our goal right now is to fix and adjust the UVs for our handle right here. And you can see here how they're nice and square. That's what we want to do. So to give myself some more work, I'm just going to go ahead and move this properties window all the way over right here, just to give myself some more room to work. And I'm going to select my handle right here, hit tab to go in edit mode, and then hit A to select all. So this one's a good one to start with because it started with the cylinder. The UVs aren't bad, they're just stretched. So how do we fix this stretching right here?
Just a little
we can
bit.
go over here to our UV view and actually fix them. So what we want to do up here is go ahead, while we have our move tool, or actually we'll go into our scale tool right here, and we'll just click and drag to select all these UVs. Now you can see, okay, we can move this around, we can scale this around. So what we want to do right now is scale the UV specifically right here. And what you'll see, okay, now we have actually control to make these UVs square, right? So we want this square right here.
Okay, but his is updating on the fly, like when he's adjusting this over here. Nope. When I grab and move that, his is sliding on the fly, and mine is not. Why? So if I scale that super small, layout, UV editing, I don't get, wait, well now it does that. So hang on. Okay. So A. Okay, so it updates like that. But I want this bigger. How it was. Okay. But it doesn't change the UV on there. Why not? Unwrap. Oh, I have no idea what that just did. Okay, let's not mess around with that. I might break something completely. Even though it's not currently working how his does.
To be as square as possible. We'll just go ahead and adjust our scale like this. And some controls when you're working in here, these are going to be very, very similar to our viewport. Middle click, shift middle click over to move around and pan around, and then middle mouse to scroll in and out. So you can see my hotkeys down here. If I just do shift middle click or just middle click, and then middle mouse scroll in and out. So I'll go ahead and make those as square as possible. Somewhere right in there. That's looking pretty good. Great. And then we'll go in and out. So you can see my hotkeys down here. If I just
I'm not able to make that happen because when I adjust mine, it's not adjusting like his does. And I'm not understanding why. Perhaps it has something to do with the texture part here, but I'm not using an image. Image texture, and maybe that is the issue. So I'm not quite sure how to make that happen. Maybe maybe I can make one, or better, let's get another one, a different one. Okay, so let's do checker pattern. Oh, perfect. Let's see. Image. So I want to find, oh, Shutterstock. I know those are good. They do like free stuff. So checkered pattern. Oh man, could you imagine trying to do a UV wrap on this kind of a thing? Okay, so let's get in here and download. I'm not sure if it needs a an account or not. I hope not. Create for your account. I believe. Yep, I already have an account. So let me overlay to block you guys out. Do that. Shutterstock fill. No, I have an account. Oh, log in. There we go. Okay. LastPass. Go. Never. Enter. I didn't forget my password. Hang on just a moment. I'm working on, well, what did it do? I'm having other technical difficulties. Okay, so log in, and it says, oh, check email shortly for a link to reset password. I shouldn't need to reset password. I don't know why it would need to. Perhaps because it's been like 5 years since I went to there. Okay, well maybe that's not going to work. Well, I haven't gotten a link yet for the reset password, so I hate when it takes ages. Maybe it went to a spam. Sorry, I know it's terrible for you guys to be watching a black screen, but I'm trying to make this work. No, trash, nope. Oh man, nope. Well, it hasn't come in yet. Let me see if I can find some other free type of image. Let's undo that just to give you guys something to look at. Free checker pattern image. Free pick. Okay, let's see what that does. Checker patterns. Seamless patterns. Not quite what I'm looking for. This one would do. Yeah, now, how do I download? Share. Is that the download? I think. No, I don't want to sign up. Alright. Checker pattern art. Vector art. I don't know what the difference is when vector art, but that would be fine if it will allow me to get it. Share? No. Copy link. How do I do? Oh, pro download. No. Attribution. Okay. No. Okay, well, here's a better way. So, there. Do that. Then I can go with, say, a plain one here. Let's maximize that. And then, all right, we can use the snipping tool and get a snip of that. And that should work, you think? I have no idea. I'm grasping for straws. Save that as Blender. We'll just do checker pattern PNG. Okay. And I vaguely remember in a previous, he previously mentioned using a PNG. So let's see if this can work. Let's come out of the of that. Let's pick you. Let's do image texture, and it had. Yeah, let me maximize that. Oh, why is it black? Looks cool, but not what I'm wanting. Open? Okay. Documents. Blender. Checker. Hey, there we go. Okay. So that's looking good. Checkers. Yeah, and so because they're all the same checkers pattern, I adjust the properties of this and it automatically adjusts that. Okay. And now because it's an image, I'm in the viewport shading because it has texture here. Now it shows exactly as he was wanting. So I'll bet you I come in here to the UV editing, handle, hang on. I want object edit all. Hey. Okay. Now we're doing good. Okay, so it was all about that image. He wanted a image as your texture, and I was not using an image. I was using a built-in texture, and so that's why it wasn't working. All right, so now we can continue moving forward. So if I come over here and select all of you, why is it not doing anything? There we go. Okay, select that. Scale. Okay, good. Now it's actually moving real time exactly. Oh, I clicked something wrong. Okay.
Do shift middle click, or just middle click for that matter, and then middle mouse scroll in and out. So I'll go ahead and make those as square as possible, somewhere right in there. That's looking pretty good. Great, and then we'll go ahead and now we'll do the base of the handle up here. So this is technically going to be part of the pommel.
Okay. So all you do... Oh, wait. I see. Okay, so I had it the other way around where you're stretching the image around the model, but actually that is not the case. This checkerboard here is the image, and you're warping the model across the image. That is neat. Okay, so he said as square as possible. So let's do like right there. Should we? Oh, squares. He said squares. But that's not going in a squarish direction. So if I'm not mistaken, if I do that, there we go. Okay. So, all right, now we're looking at squares. So you're not necessarily trying to match it up with your model. I mean, you can if you want, I guess, but you want it to be as square as possible. So let's go right about there. Looks kind of square. Okay. So let me just double check.
And then middle mouse scroll in and out. So I'll go ahead and make those as square as possible, somewhere right in there. That's looking pretty good. Middle mouse to scroll in and out. So
I
you see
think
my
it
hotkeys
might be an issue.
Middle click, or just middle click for that matter, and then middle.
It might be an issue that it's not within the bitmap. Oh dear. No, I don't think it'll be an issue. No, it's not going to be an issue. Okay, so that looks pretty square. Let's keep going.
In and out. So we'll go ahead and make those as square as possible, somewhere right in there. That's looking pretty good. Great, and then we'll go ahead and now we'll do the base of the handle up here. So this is technically going to be part of the pommel. We'll go ahead and jump out of edit mode here. We'll go to object mode, and then we'll switch over to our pommel up here, and we'll select that, and then hit tab to go into edit mode. Now this one's going to be a little different. If we hit select A to select all, we'll see that, okay, now we have 3 different objects. We got this one, we got this one, and we got this one. What's going on here? So this is because we had a torus, a cylinder, and another torus. So what we want to do is go over here, and we want to fix this. So hit A over here to select all, or just go to select, and then select all. And then we'll do the same thing over here. We'll go to select all, or just hit A. So now what we want to do is we just want to spread these out. So we go to UVs, and then we go to UV pack islands. So what is pack islands? Just see what happens after we hit this button. You'll see now, after we hit that UV pack islands, it takes all those different islands. Also, just islands are basically these things. Anytime an object that doesn't touch another object in UV space is.
Okay, UV pack islands. Didn't do anything? Oh, did I need to select all of that? So select, oh, I can just do A, select all UV pack islands. Ah, there we go.
not technically connected, those are going to be the islands. So because these are 3 different objects, technically we have 3 different islands. So that's just going to flatten that out. Now what we have the ability to do is to scale these just like we did before. So while I have my scale tool here, if I just deselect nothing, I can select this, and I'll go to select, select linked, and then we'll do linked. And that's just going to make sure that we have all that selected. And we can see here, okay, while we have this selected, now what we do is just scale this around. And after you scale a couple times, you'll see, okay, what am I looking at right here? And you can actually see down here, as I scale this around, it says bottom one right here. So what we want to do here is just scale that to make sure that those are going to be square. So you might have to do a little bit of guessing to see which ones they're going to be.
Linked.
So you notice as I stretch this one out, stretch this one in, those are looking much better. There we go. So those are going to be square now. Now we're going to do the same thing with the top one here. So select this. So click and drag.
Well, hang on. Did he select? Oh, okay. There is 2 different packs.
So because these are 3 different objects, technically we have
Okay.
3 different islands. So that's just going to flatten that out. Now what we have the ability to do is to scale these just like we did before. So while I have my scale tool here, if I just deselect nothing, I can select this, and I'll go to select, select linked, and then we'll do linked.
Linked.
And that's just going to make sure that we have all that selected.
Yep.
And we can see here, okay, while we have this selected, now what we do is just scale this around. And after you scale a couple times, you'll see, okay, what am I looking at right here? And you can actually see down here, as I scale this around, it says bottom one right here. So what we want to do here is just scale that to make sure that those are going to be square.
Scale.
So I might have to do a little bit of guessing to see which ones they're going to be.
Hang on.
So you notice as I stretch this one out,
I want the
stretch this
actual
one in,
scale tool.
those are looking much better. There we go. So those are going to be square now.
Which one are we
Now we're
at?
going to do the same thing with the top one here. So
What?
select this. So click and drag.
Oh, I see. I
Drag.
see.
Select,
We
select
are
linked and then linked.
way
So
up
select
here.
everything. We'll do the same thing here. We'll just squash this in, stretch this out like that, focusing on making this up here square. That's looking pretty good. I'm not going to be too overly concerned with the overlapping here. I'm just going to select this right here.
Okay.
Just like that. Those first on there. We'll do select and then select link,
Good.
link. There we go. And we're going to do the same thing. We're gonna
Okay,
stretch this
there
out
we
to square,
go.
something like that. So now that
Okay,
all of them are
so
looking square, what we want to do
now,
is repack these. So if we just hit A, select all, go to UV, pack islands.
Link.
Now you see, okay, now we're getting something a little bit better. Specifically now things are going to be
So
not
now
overlapping, right?
that
But sometimes on
then
the scale is
would
up. You see these
be
checkerboards are going to be bigger than
this
these
one?
checkerboards right there. So what we want to do is UV,
And we would
underneath
want to
pack islands,
stretch
we
it
do
the
island scale.
same. Yeah.
And that button isn't perfect all the times, but sometimes, I would say bulk of the time it does a pretty good job. So from here, we'll just go ahead and then do UV, pack
That
islands
looks
scale,
good.
like that. So now we can see, okay, this square right here and that square right there are looking
But
a lot closer.
now I can't
Okay, so we have 2 objects done, so
see
we'll start moving on to the
my
guard
other one.
next.
I need to move you
So with the guard, we have an
away.
interesting problem.
Well, hang on. I need to move this out so that I can see select linked, and I need to move that so that I can see my last one. Okay, so now you select linked, and this will be the actual mid piece here. The pommel, I guess he called it. No, I don't want move, I want scale. There we go. Oh, that is so cool. Except I need to... Okay. There. Okay. Except it's not quite... How do you get both of those? So... Oh, wait. Okay. Okay, so we got some wrapping going on when around the edges there. Oh, yeah, okay. I'm just making sure my microphone is actually there for a moment. I thought my microphone was up at the top of my head. Okay, so that's looking pretty square. Okay, so let's
And that's
continue.
the pack island scan to repack that. So now we can see, okay, this square right here and that square right there are looking a lot closer.
Yes.
Okay, so we have 2 objects done, so we'll start moving on to the guard next.
Okay, so let's go ahead and... Oh, that's looking really nasty. I'm not even going to touch that. Okay, so guard, come out of edit mode, come back into edit mode. A, okay. Well, this is interesting. It's got loops now. What's the deal going on there? Layout, come back into UV editing. All right.
So with the guard, we have an interesting problem, and that's the fact that it's currently set up to have a mirror modifier. So you can see here the 6 right here looks correct, but over here it looks backwards. So that's a problem. So we have to actually do, if we go into edit mode, you'll see, okay, we only have half an object.
Well,
right?
there
So
you go.
if it's being mirrored, the units are going to be mirrored as well, right? So what we have to do is we have to collapse our modifier. So what does that mean? So I'm going to go to my modifier tab over here. I'm going to go ahead and give myself some more room. So I got my modifiers tab right here, and I got my mirror modifier up here. This is a procedural action, which means it's happening on top of our mesh, right? So this is our original mesh, and then basically in edit mode we only have access to half of it because in object mode, the mirror modifier is being applied. So we never have access to this mirror while we're in edit mode because it's being performed on top of this, right? So what we have to do here is collapse this. So while we're in object mode up here, we have to go to this little dialog box up here with our mirror and hit apply. If you're in edit mode, you will not be able to do this. You can't apply modifiers while you're in edit mode. So we have to go to object mode and then apply. What that's going to do.
Okay. Object mode. Give me some more room. Apply.
Is basically get rid of that, but it's going to collapse it into edit mode. So now the actual mesh is not mirrored anymore. It's just a full mesh. Now if I go to edit mode, we'll be able to see that a little bit better. So now we have 2 halves here, right? So that's what we're after. So I got to give myself some.
Oh, okay. So, okay. So okay, so right now these are workable modifiers, and when you go to apply, then it applies that and gets rid of it. So now you can manage it individually. Neat.
Some more room. Expand all of that, clicking and dragging. Right, and then now we want to apply some UVs. So this one's a little bit more difficult, because our UVs are basically destroyed. And this happened because we started with a cylinder, then we extruded those out, and basically from there on,
Yep.
there's going to be no working UVs left, right? So we're going to have to create these from scratch. So we're going to just barely touch the surface of this UV menu here. It's just enough information for us to get started. So our goal right now isn't to make the most perfect UVs. That's not what we're doing here. Our goal is just simply to make our first model, right? So there's a lot of really good tools, specifically that we go over in Blender UV fundamentals. But for now, we're just going to stick with Smart UV Project. And Smart UV Project is just basically an automatic way to use UVs. For very, very simple things, it can be okay. For more complicated things, you have to kind of get into the rest of these tools.
Okay,
So
hang on. I need to make sure to get. Oh, okay. Well, there it is. Good.
what we're going to do is hit Smart UV Project. And what we'll do is, just
UV. Smart UV project.
all these default values. We don't really know what these do yet, so we'll just hit OK. And there we go. Right off the bat, we get a pretty decent solution. Squares are looking square.
Yes.
The numbers are going the right way. They're going the wrong direction here. Which,
Okay, now as I was explaining earlier, see, I thought you were stretching the image around the model. No, in this case, you're actually stretching the model across your image. You can see here how when I applied that Smart UV thing, it basically restretched all my modeling from the circles and stuff that it used to be to that. And now it does look very nice. A little bit of modifying to be done, but it looks nice. That's cool.
generally speaking, that's okay. So for this one, this is going to work totally fine. So what we're going to do now is go into object mode and then go over to our blade here. I'm going to do it. Select that object,
Okay,
add,
object
and then select
blade.
A for everything. We're just going to select all. Select all up here, and then what we're going to do is UV Smart UV
A.
Project. We're going to see something interesting happening here.
Okay.
I'm going to just do default values again. We'll talk about
UV.
these as we go. Hit OK, and there we go. And now see it didn't
Smart
quite turn out.
project,
What is happening
Smart
here?
UV
There's a couple
project.
different things that are happening.
Okay.
First off, we need to address the stretching problem. You can see here
Yes.
that this does not look like the right shape of this, right? So what is happening here? Right? We go
I
to
have a
our
completely
guard,
different
so go to
shape than
object
you
mode
do.
here. I'm going to select my guard, go to edit mode. We'll see, okay, these shapes, well, generally speaking, look like the right shapes.
Okay, so edit mode, come out of there, U, A. Yes, looks generally like it. Okay.
They look like the shapes that we have here. So this shape right here is generally speaking matching this shape right here. So what's happening here? Well, we talked a bit about this earlier, but if I go into my object transforms over here, go into my object properties, we'll see that our pesky scale is not 1 and 1 and 1. And we talked a bit about this with
okay.
our apply scale.
So what about my scale? No, I don't want to do that. Object mode. Did I mess with the scale on that? The pesky scale, he called it. That's funny. That is under that tab there. Okay, so yes, I do have a bit of an issue there.
So if I go to object, apply, and then apply scale, what that's going to do is make sure all these scale values are 1.
Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Object, apply, scale, resets all of it to 1. Yep.
And now those weird arbitrary values that we set before. Why is that important? Well, whenever we do our UV operations in edit mode, along with really any modeling operation, this scale value is happening after all this is applied. So what that means is this is all going to be stretched because we were stretching it over here, right? So Blender thought this
Okay.
was just a cube, and it wasn't a cube, it was more like a rectangle, basically. So now we do just simply UV and then Smart UV Project. And we'll just hit OK, and now we'll see, okay, it's looking better, but it still feels stretched. What's going on here? Well, let's go ahead and we'll just do UV, Smart UV Project. We have a couple different options here. We have correct aspect ratio and stretch to UV bounds right here. What we want to do is uncheck this stretch to UV bounds.
Wow,
What that is
very
doing
nice.
is forcing this thing to take up this entire square, which we don't want, right? We want this thing to be, we want this checkerboard to be square. So I'll uncheck that, hit OK, and there we go. So now you can see this shape and this shape are relatively the same.
Yeah,
Right? And you can see these are
okay.
now squares, which is what we're after. Now, this is something we'll talk about in a later course, but basically we have all this negative space over here, which isn't the best thing. Basically, long story short, you have like a 4K texture or whatever. There's a lot of empty space here, and generally speaking, you want to utilize that. For what we're doing right now, this is totally fine for what we're doing. We're just going to leave it here. Great. So now we have almost all the way done, and then the last one we want to do is right up here with our Palmel. We'll do that next.
Okay.
So now we
Yeah,
have
I think that palm is going to be a mess because that is probably the most complicated shape that we have up here so far. What am I looking at? I'm in edit mode, so I need to be in object mode. All right.
Palmel up here. We're going to fix this object right there. It's going to be our last object. So if I go to edit mode, you'll see here, okay, we have our mirror again. So we want to collapse that. I'll go to my modifier here, go to my mirror, and then go to apply and make sure I'm in object mode.
Object mode. U. Modifiers, mirror, apply. Done. Okay. So now we can go in here and, yes, there.
Mode here, and then just hit apply. And there we go. Now we're going to edit mode. There we go. We have our collapsed mirror modifier.
Okay.
So you can see here, we're getting some stretching already, so we want to make sure that we apply our scale. So we'll go to object mode again. So I'm going to make my
Scale, object, object apply scale. Okay, I'm not sure if I had a scaling issues on there or not, but can't hurt.
myself some more room here. So we see some object mode, object, and then apply scale. Great. And then now what I'm going to do is go into edit mode again. I'm going to select everything by hitting A, and then just go up to UV, and then Smart UV Project. We're going to see we have a couple different problems with this one. I'm just going to use the values that we have in, hit OK. Now you can see, OK, this is looking OK, but as soon as I go into object mode again, we'll see we have a lot of different stretching happening here. Right? And this stuff happening here, this stuff happening here. What is this? Well, if we go to our modifier stack here, we have our subdivision modifier. And if you notice, we have an edit mode is turned off, which means we cannot see what the subdivision modifier is doing in edit mode. So that's why it's looking different in edit mode versus object mode, right? So long story short, our cage mesh here is essentially collapsing in on itself. The way we model this isn't perfect, and the way what's happening here is essentially this is moving upwards here, this is moving downwards here. Long story short, there's some modeling techniques that we could potentially add in here that would solve this, specifically adding some more holding edges, which would prevent it from collapsing on itself. But as a quick solution, what we can do here is simply collapse this modifier as well. So we don't want to do the whole thing. We just want to do one subdivision, so I'll set this to 1, and then levels of viewport, put in my tab object, and then hit apply. So why am I setting this to 1?
Okay, hang on. He wanted levels to 1, and then apply that. Okay, but I'm not quite sure, why am I getting a doubled up here? Do I have more than one model here? No. Why am I getting doubled up textures there? I do not understand that part. His doesn't show that though.
Basically, you can see here how this looks a little bit more polygonal right there. If I go to 2, you can see it's getting smooth more. We don't necessarily need that. Just 1 will do for now, because what we want is simply for this cage mesh to hold its form a little bit more. So we'll go ahead and apply this while we're in object mode here. So we'll do apply. And now what we can do, so we're in edit mode here, we can see that we have that. While we're in object mode, I'm going to go ahead and do add modifier, then do subdivision surface. And then what this is going to do is now apply that second level of subdivision. So our cage mesh is now holding its form a little bit better, and we can still...
Okay, so come out of there. So by applying and then doing another subdivision surface, it'll do it again. And then what? Apply it again?
Subdivide this a little bit better. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this off in edit mode, and then go into edit mode again. And then what we can do here is now go to, I'm going to go ahead and move this over to myself some more room. Give myself some more room again. And then what we do here is just UV, Smart UV Project. And then hit OK.
Okay. No, he wants to leave that alone. All. Why didn't it project over onto the... let's see. View. No. Layout. UV. A. Come on, why isn't it giving it to me? Ah, there we go. Now, I wonder, will the Smart UV Protect work? Why, yes, it does. And it gets rid of the flashy mirrory part thing that I was talking about. Very cool.
And there we go. So now we can see, okay, now we have some problems here. All this stuff's happening. This doesn't look too great. What's happening here? Well, the Smart UV Project is not perfect, not by a long shot. And if we go in here, we have some other options to get some pretty quick and automatic UVs. So Smart UV Project should be your go-to whenever you're not making custom UVs. But Cube Projection is another really good one to do, which is really just like an automatic projection. Again, these are really automated solutions. These are not, custom UVs, which is really important to get into when you cut in all that. We're going to keep things super simple for now. So we'll just do Cube Projection. And what you'll see here is, okay, over here, it just dumped everything on top of each other. But if we look over here, these are all looking pretty good, not too bad, right? Certainly better than what we had before. So now what we need to do is fix this over here so that this isn't sitting on top of itself and they're all laid out nice and clean. The reason why we do that, basically we don't want the same textures sitting on top of each other. It's going to be important when we get into shading. So what we do over here is just select everything, and then go to UV, and then we'll just do pack island skin. So anything that isn't connected, it's just going to lay out flat, just like that.
Okay. So select UV pack islands. Okay, so that looks a little bit better.
We have that. And we'll wrap it up right there. So that's looking pretty good. Again, is this perfect UVs? Definitely not. It's just our first asset. We're keeping things very simple just so we can get the bigger picture workflow down. And now in the next chapter, we'll go ahead and start looking at the shader editor and start applying textures and shaders.
Okay.
So here's where we're going to take our UV'd model and we're going to apply these textures and shaders. So before we jump into the original scene, this is the final result that I have here. So I just want to break down what we're going to be working on. So you can see here we got like this grungy metallic shader. We have this rune effect here.
Yeah.
We have this rune effect there. We have this different handle material. That's all the stuff that we're going to be focused on now. So to get started, we're going to take a look at the shading view tab right here. So shading tab. What is shading tab? So before we move any further, what I'm going to do is just select my cylinder here, select my cube, hit X, and then delete. And then what I'm going to do is zoom in here and keep things selected on my guard here. And then we're just going to look at...
Okay, so I'm actually liking that we're getting into this section because I loaded up another sword, which is very similar to this one, except it has, when I opened it up, it had a whole bunch of these kind of things in there. And I had absolutely no idea what to do with it. So now that we're apparently going to be learning this, maybe I can still use that same sword and understand how to modify it as well.
This right here. And we're just going to talk about what we're looking at here. So this right here is what we call our shading network. That is what the shading tab is referring to right here. Again, this is a custom display that we have here all set up for this. We have our viewport right here. The only thing different about this is that we're in this material preview mode. So material preview mode is similar to like solid mode, right? We have rendered mode. The only difference is it's like an in-between. It's not going to be our final render. It's not going to be our preview, but it's going to be a way for us to see our materials and our shaders and our textures in a quick and efficient way. So you can see we have our HDRI set up. So we talked a bit about those before. Really useful. And it just gives us a way to very clearly see our object. We got our object menu up here. All that's going to be the same. We have our properties over here, outliner, which we'll talk about in a bit. then over here we have two different things. This is going to be just a quick way for us to display our textures, which we're not going to really use here. I do use this, but we're going to skip over for now. And this is going to be our texture view as well. We're going to skip over this one as well. We're just going to mainly focus on this right here and this right here. But before we get into here, let's explain what we're looking at right here. So this is checkers right here, right? So we know what this is before. If we come down here to our material tab, we notice we have checkers right here. So that is the checkers material that we made before. And now we're seeing it over here, right? So this network right here is a node-based way to do exactly what we're doing down here in our material tab, right? So back when we were adding in our textures, when we, add in the UV checkers.jpg, whenever we, adjusted our Minecraft textures, this is all of that in a node-based form. So what is node-based? Basically what that means is instead of, working in this stacked view, we're going to work in this node view, which is basically these things right here. And you can see how they're all networked together, which we're going to talk about. So let's break down what we're seeing here in our shading view. Our shading node graph right here. So these are nodes, and nodes, if you've never worked with them before, they're a completely different world. So you have layer-based applications like Photoshop, and then we have our 3D viewport, which is basically a bunch of nodes that are actually just displayed in 3D form. And down here we have our shading view, which is comprised of nodes. So you can think of this down here as like kind of working in Photoshop, but it's no longer layers. It's going to be networks of things. So we have our UV checkers.jpg, our principal BSDF, and our material output. What are these things? So this is our texture, this is our shader, and this is our material. What's the difference between these things? So when we built Minecraft, we talked about materials, we talked about textures, we talked about how we can assign a texture to a material, and that's going to give us our Minecraft. We can see all that. But we haven't really talked about this thing called a shader before. So textures are basically going to be that 2D image that we assign to our material. But our shader is actually how we control the properties like specularity. Is it metallic? Is it going to be a flat, more dusty type of material? Those are what shaders are going to do. And when we combine them, that's going to make up our material. So we have our texture right here, we have our shader right here, and our material output. You can really think of the material as the container itself. It's everything together. It's not just the shader, it's not just the textures, it's all of it together. The network itself makes the material. All right, so in the next chapter, we're going to talk about how to actually manipulate this stuff.
Okay, well, I'm actually going to stop that there. I am out of time for the morning. My time, 10 o'clock, is when I stop with the computery businessy stuff and go work with the family. So thank you very much for joining. Let me come back over here to layout. This is what we got so far. And let me just back this up a hair. I'm trying to get...
so step one of getting our materials is to go from a flat shader to adding in our grunge maps and our metallic and all those properties. And then we're going to add in the runes last.
Okay.
To start, we're going to focus on the blade. We're going to create our first shader network. So after clicking...
So what I was wanting to show is...
so step one of...
that. So yeah, here's where we modeled it. Now we're going to be doing this section, and then we're going to be doing the runes last. You can see just right as he's flipping through there what this sword is going to look like when it is done. And I personally think that it looks really cool. It's not going to work as far as what I need for my project, but I am very much enjoying learning how to make this stuff happen. So here you can see what the final scene is going to look like with all the weather effect, the backgrounds, the runes, and all the glowing light and everything. It just looks really awesome. And I'm hoping that the project I'm working on will have a similar result, but it's a step-by-step process of making that happen. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to end that there. Let me make sure to save this. Let's see. Yes. Sword practice. Okay. Thank you very much for joining, and please keep checking back for later when as I continue this sword, and then build something similar. Actually, it just occurred to me, I will probably take this sword and modify it into what I need for my final project, rather than having to build another one, which will be very much identical anyway. Whatever I end up when this is done, I'll simply modify that to be what I need.